And I'm gonna even more, oh, you know what? I have to one more thing and then I'll get back to the goods. Okay. So all that to say that when we're looking at, what is sacred storytelling? What it's a wily term, and I don't claim to own it. I really believe that storytellers, everyone's a storyteller. We're born with it. It's in our bones. It's in our cells. We know a great story. Because we can feel it. This word of sacred storytelling, it's a bold claim to make. And as a storyteller, what it means to me is this alchemy, is that we are alchemists, and we're the place where spirit and earth meet through our voice, through the matter of our body, through our song, and through our stories. And it's that kind of collaboration. And so this aspect of getting to acknowledge our relationship with the unseen world and how it's constantly and always affecting us and influencing us feels very, very important. And so it is without further ado that I want to introduce you to Erin. And Erin, let me get into here and read your bio for you. Hold on. I was almost ready, but then I got a little distracted by how exciting life can be. And Erin explores the practical methods for purging negative energy from both the body and mind, illuminating its pivotal role in promoting well-being and enhancing the narrative art. Together, we're going to learn the process of disconnecting negative cords of attachments, linking you to others, and understanding their origins. And she's going to tell you the rest of what we're going to be up to today. But without further ado, I pass it off to Erin for this really unique class in storytelling.
Hi, everyone. So thank you so much, Leah, for that wonderful introduction. I feel so grateful to be here in this space and sharing this with all of you. So over the next hour, we're going to be talking about the transference of energy between storytellers and their audience, and how that can affect the health of the mind as well as the health of the body. We're going to be talking about a few very easy, very simple, but very powerful techniques for maintaining the health of your mind and your body. We're also going to be talking, as Leah mentioned, about negative cords or attachments, how these happen, the origin of them, and of course, the effect on our health and on our creativity as well. So a few questions for the audience. Well, first and foremost, we did disable the chat, I believe. And we've done this to help us stay in a more relaxed, receptive state, which is kind of the space that we need to be in for a healing class. But I am going to open up the chat towards the end, and I am going to have a Q&A and take questions, and we can discuss the things that were talked about today. But just a show of hands, I want to see how many people are storytellers speaking to an audience of people, or perhaps working one-on-one with individuals. Just a show of physical hands here. Okay, just give me a minute so I can flip through. Okay, and how many people would like to be working with an audience or working more publicly? Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Let me go back here. Okay, so a few things that I just want us to get on the same page with as far as language goes. There's 3 terms that I want to clarify. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with these terms, but I will be referring to them a lot during the next hour. So I just want to get us all on the same page. So the 3 terms are energy body, chakras, and energy channel. So energy body, our energy bodies are an egg shape of energy that is around our physical form. And it's important to be aware of the energy body as a storyteller, because when you're sharing your stories with an audience, there is such an exchange of energy, not only with the energy that's coming through your energy body and transferring to the audience, but what's happening when people receive your stories and certain types of energy that they're releasing that can, to a certain degree, affect your own energy as well. So the energy body is a blueprint for everything that goes on in our lives, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, with our creativity, with our finances. It's also important to be aware of that before anything happens in the physical world, it first takes place in the energy world. So that's the case for better or for worse, whether it's regarding our health, whether it's us winning the lottery, or whether it's a woman getting pregnant. It all shows up first in the energy body and then the physical world. So that's important to be aware of, because not only are the techniques we're going to talk about today going to help you maintain your energy levels as storytellers in the day-to-day, but you can also think of these techniques as preventative energy medicine. Okay, so that's the energy body. Next, we're going to talk about energy channels or meridians. So just as our physical body has a circulatory system, our energy body has energy channels. So with the circulatory system, obviously blood flows through the entire physical body. With the energy channels, life force flows through the entire energy body. And ideally, on a perfect day, keywords, our energy is flowing smoothly and abundantly through these energy channels, reaching every nook and cranny of our energy body so that our organs, our cells, our mind, our finances can be nourished with the life force they need to be healthy and strong. For anything to be healthy in our lives, whether it's our physical life, physical body, or our mental health, or our creative projects, or our finances, it needs energy. When we don't have energy, when we don't have enough life force, that's when things tend to take a hit. So these techniques are important for keeping our energy levels high, making sure that our life force is flowing properly. Okay, so the next term I want to clarify is chakras. I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this term. I'm sure many of you have different chakra systems you work with, perhaps 5 chakra systems, or maybe you work with 8 chakras, 7, 9, 11. They're all correct. It just depends on the modality and the needs of the practitioner. So we're not going to be going into the chakra systems today, but I did want to touch on what the chakras are. So the major chakras are major acupuncture points on the body, and each one of them has a physical function, an emotional function, a mental function. It oversees part of our spiritual well-being. Some of them oversee our finances. And all day, every day, our chakras should be able to inhale life force from our environment, which is then sent to the corresponding organs, functions, and cells, and simultaneously exhale dirty, used up energy from our physical systems. So when the chakras get blocked, when they get congested or contaminated with negative energy, the chakra is unable to send life force to those corresponding organs and cells in the way it needs to. So you can think about this like when our pipes get backed up. You know, when our pipes get clogged, the energy still trickles through, but not abundantly, right? Things start to back up. It's the same with our chakras. If our chakras get blocked, life force will still trickle through to a certain degree, but it won't be reaching the functions physically, spiritually, mentally in the way that it needs to maintain our health. So the techniques we learned today are going to help to unblock our chakras, keep things flowing, which can be really beneficial on a lot of different levels for us. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to come into a receptive body posture. And I think this is an important thing to share with all of you as storytellers, because obviously you want your stories to be received and you want people to be receptive to what you're saying, right? And there's certain little things we can do with our bodies to help us take in information on a deeper level that can be really helpful for our healing and our inner transformation. So the first thing is we're going to try and sit with our spines off the back of our chairs, if you can. If you have any kind of back pain or discomfort in your body, please don't do this. I would much rather you be comfortable than in pain during the next 45 minutes. But if it is okay for your body, try and sit with your spine off the back of your chair. The reason being is we have energy channels that run up and down the back of our spine. So if we can keep that energy flowing, the life force is able to reach our brain, it's able to reach our upper chakras, which helps us feel more alert, more awake, more focused. So this can be really good for learning. The next thing we want to do has to do with our arms. So we want to maintain an open, receptive body posture with our arms. So during the next 45 minutes, to the best of your ability, try and keep your arms uncrossed. So you can put them on your thighs, palms facing upwards, or if you're out in front of a desk, you can lean on your desk. The only thing that I ask is try to keep your arms from being uncrossed like this. Like, don't cross your arms during the session. So that definitely has its purpose. And I just want to touch on that for a minute because it is actually a useful body posture in certain situations. So say, for example, you're in an environment that, you know, if you're energetically sensitive, might feel kind of negative, or perhaps is making you feel bad in some way, or just feels heavy, an environment you just don't feel right in. If you find yourself in a situation like that, crossing your arms across your diaphragm can be really helpful. It doesn't matter what arm's on top because it causes the energy to bounce back. So in that way, it can be a form of shielding or protection for you. You can also use this technique if you're around people that, you know, maybe are going through a bit of a hard time or really stressed out, and you're starting to feel their energy. It's maybe causing you to feel a little bit off, or perhaps you're empathic as well. If you need to protect yourself, you can cross your arms. It's a very simple thing to do. The only thing I ask, just some words of wisdom, the only thing I ask is do not do this technique if you are in a heated discussion with perhaps a spouse, a partner, or your boss, because it can add fuel to the fire during an argument. So if you find that you're in a position like that, I think it's very natural when we're in arguments. Sometimes we want to cross our arms, right? Just to protect ourselves. But if you can remember to uncross your arms, often can help the argument simmer a little bit. And then you can apply the techniques that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so back to our receptive body posture. Spines off the chair, palms facing upwards. We're going to connect our tongue to the roof of our mouth. And we're going to just focus on some deep breathing. So as storytellers, this is something you can guide your audience or the people that you work with to do. Again, it's just to help increase receptivity so that the stories can really help heal and transform people in the way that you want. So going back to our energy channels, we have an energy channel that runs from the mouth down the center of the body, down around the body, back up through the head, and then back to the mouth again. It disconnects in the mouth. So by just simply connecting the tongue to the roof of the mouth and doing some breathing, we start to draw in a lot of life force from our environment, which can really help with physical vitality and mental vitality. So we're just going to spend a few minutes just doing some simple breathing, not going to do anything fancy with counting, just breathe normally as your body allows. So if you want, you can close your eyes, and we're just going to drop in here. So connect the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And just focus on some nice deep inhales through the nose. And we're actually going to exhale through the nose as well. So nice deep breath in. And nice deep breath out. So let's just do a couple rounds of that. Okay, just finish up one more round. So nice deep breath in. And nice deep breath out through the nose. Now, this may seem overly simple, but if you need the extra energy to help focus the mind, to get centered, to increase your energy levels physically or mentally, you can do this for 10 minutes a day. It's not a lot, and it can really help you get through your day and do the things that you need to do. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the transference of energy between storytellers and their audience. So this is really important, and I'm not a storyteller. I have been on the receiving end of a story, and it was incredible to me, the healing that can happen instantaneously while you're receiving a story. It truly is such a gift to your audience. So energetically, for the storyteller, there's a lot of energy, a lot of light that's coming into the storyteller at the time of sharing your story. Now, your audience is receiving your story on a few different levels. They're receiving the energy that's coming down into your energy body, and radiating out towards them. It doesn't matter if you're on Zoom or if you're standing in front of an audience or sharing one-on-one. It's coming down and radiating out to your audience. Obviously, your audience is hearing the words of your story verbally, but most importantly, on an energetic level, if you're to look at someone speaking, you would notice that the words themselves carry light, carry frequency, and each word carries light and frequency to a certain degree. Some words are extremely bright and healing. Other words are, I don't want to say darker, but let's just say a lower level of light, you know, so maybe their effect isn't necessarily healing on the audience. So as you're sharing your story, the energy is radiating from your energy body and light is coming from the mouth and your audience is receiving that. So as your audience receives that energy from you on multiple levels, darkness is being dispelled. Darkness is being cleared from their own energy body and from their own chakras. Now, when I say darkness, what I mean is darkness can be ignorance, a lot of dirty energies that cause us suffering, whether it's suffering in our mind, suffering in our emotions, our finances, or physical health, clairvoyantly are dark. The particles are very coarse, they're very heavy, and there's a very dirty, muddy energy to the things that cause us suffering. So when we receive a story, when we receive that healing, if we're receptive enough to it, that story starts to dispel the darkness within our body and mind that's causing us to suffer. And that is huge. That is a huge, huge gift to be offering not only individuals, but society and the world at large, right? So the audience, the people who are receiving your stories, as they're releasing this dark, dirty energy, they're going through an incredible transformation on multiple levels. And as they release this dirty energy, they release it into their environment. And unfortunately, to a certain degree, they release it to the people around them, including the storyteller. Now, this is nothing to be afraid of. Energy is nothing to be afraid of. We just need some tools in our tool bag to kind of help us, you know, purify us, keep us free of contamination so that you can continue to do your art and be of service to your audience in the world, right? But it's something to be important and just aware of, and it's very important to acknowledge. So I remember years ago when I first taught my very first healing class, the very first day. In that moment of teaching, I felt so alive and so energized and just like my best self, which I have a feeling a lot of you do feel that way as well when you're telling your stories. But I could not believe how I felt after the first day of class. I felt so heavy and drained, and I just was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do day 2. Like, I just could not believe it. And at that time, no one had really talked to me about the transference of energy between teachers and their audience. And in this case, between storytellers and their audience. It's a two-way street. Not only are you bringing through light, but you're also to a certain degree on the receiving end of some of the things that people are releasing. So this can cause a couple different things. I think for those of you who are empathic or energetically sensitive, it could cause you to feel heavy after you're done sharing your stories to an audience, or even working one-on-one with people. Some of you maybe might feel the things people are going through, the emotions they have, or certain issues maybe that they're navigating at that time. It can cause mental fatigue, it can cause physical fatigue. Sometimes it can even cause pain in the body. So to deal with this, we want to do a couple things. After you're done sharing your stories, working on one-on-one, doing, being in the public eye, when you have a chance, you want to focus on clearing yourself. And we're going to do that through 2 ways today. One is through learning how to cut any negative cords or attachments that might be coming into us from other people. And 2 is through utilizing salt and water to help purify us on many, many levels. So let's just take a minute to talk about negative cords. Some of you may have heard of negative cords, others this might be an entirely new topic. Every time humans interact, there are energetic cords that are established. Now, sometimes these cords disconnect very, very quickly. Other times they hold on for a really long time. And, I've been doing this line of work full time for the last 16 years, every day, Monday through Friday. And I have to say, there is no way, no way I'd be able to continue to do my work had it not been for these techniques of cutting negative cords and learning how to purify myself. So I work with people all over the world. I work with healers and therapists and teachers all over the world. And I constantly see themes in people that, are leading them to burnout, that are causing them to have chronic fatigue, mentally, physically, pain in their body that doctors can't necessarily diagnose or identify. So all these things we're going to talk about today can definitely help with these issues. So I want us, before we get started into cutting our cords from people, I want us just to spend a few minutes learning how to feel energy. Now, if you don't feel anything in this exercise, that is totally fine. Your ability to do these techniques is not dependent on your ability to feel energy. We're having fun, we're playing around, let's see what happens. But I do want to just share with you, as we're learning how to feel energy here, try to the best of your ability to not think about it too much, not overthink, because the thing about seeing and feeling energy is the minute the mind kicks in, like, is this it? Am I feeling something? I think I'm feeling something, or I'm not feeling something. Then our sensitivity level drops, okay? So we're going to connect our tongue to the roof of our mouth. We're going to do some breathing in and out of our nose, and we're going to bring our hands in front of us, and we're simply going to start to rub them together. Generate a little bit of heat in our hands. Okay. Next, we're going to do some ninja finger flicks. So we're just going to go like this. And all this does is help to get the life force flowing through the hands and the fingers. Okay, good job, good job. Next, we're going to do some elbow flicks. So be gentle on your arms here, but we're just going to extend the hands like that. Yeah. And again, this is just to increase the energy going through our arms and help with the sensitivity of our hands. Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to bring our hands in front of us, maybe about that far apart or so. We're going to close our eyes, and we're going to place our awareness on our palms. So there's a chakra on each of our palms and at the end of each fingertip, also on our joints as well. But for feeling energy, we're going to focus on our palms. So tongues up, nice deep breathing, and just observe. Just leave your awareness on your palms and just observe. So remember to breathe. And breath can really, really increase life force and generate more energy between your hands. Now, very slowly, just start to move your hands apart and back towards each other. Apart and back towards each other. And just observe if you feel anything. And if not, that's totally okay too. Okay. Next, we're going to take our thumb, our index finger, and our middle finger. Same thing. We're just going to bring them pointing towards each other, maybe an inch apart. Close the eyes, connect the tongue to the roof of the mouth, and do some nice deep breathing. And just leave your awareness on the tips of your fingers. Same thing as before, just very slowly start to pull your fingers apart and then towards each other. And just see what you observe. Okay, our last exercise. Take one hand, open your palm, doesn't matter which hand, and take the index finger of the other hand, and we're just going to point it towards our palm, towards the palm chakra here. Close the eyes, connect the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Nice deep breathing in and out the nose. And just start to move your index finger in a circular motion. And just see how you feel. Okay, the purpose of this exercise is just to help you feel this life force that I'm talking about. the life force that keeps us alive and healthy, that helps us bring through our ideas, our creativity into the world, that helps to keep our finances strong and healthy. Okay, great. So I just wanted to open up some discussion here, get some feedback from you about your observations. There's no wrong answers. Again, if you didn't feel anything at all, totally okay. So if you want to go to reactions at the bottom of your screen and click raise hand and just share, about how you feel and what's going on, that would be great.
Tracy Lee, would you like to check in?
So when I was doing it, I felt like a elastic band when I went to pull away and come back. And then I don't know if you ever heard it, but
Yeah.
when a child, you walk around the garden like a teddy bear, one step, so it was like almost a tickle. When I was doing the circle, that's what I felt.
Nice. Yeah, a tickle on the receiving hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Awesome.
That's what I felt.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Tracy Lee.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy Lee. John, would you like to check in?
Yeah, I was getting a lot of energy, and at first I saw like a white, green, and yellow light between my hands.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I realized when I separated my hands and pointed with the other finger, coming from my right, it was red, blue, and black.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I
Yeah.
kind of mixed the colors and made a deep purple.
Nice.
And, I realize now the two hands have different colors, different energies.
Yeah. That's a really wonderful observation, John. Thank you for sharing that. Our hands, the palm chakras on our hands are like eyes, so when we start to develop them and get sensitive to energy in that way, it allows us to see in a different way. So thank you, John. That was a really good observation.
All right, and Lev is up next. I really love this image that Lev has on their video. I can see the energy coming out of the storybook.
Thank you. Yes, I didn't recognize the poignant connection until you mentioned it. So on the one with the finger pointing the palm, I initially felt the sensation from on my palm. It felt like a slight tracing, but as soon as I noticed it, the sensation shifted into, and then what I could consciously feel was the fingertip getting warm and tingly. But I thought that was thing. So instead of feeling the sensation of a light drawing on my palm, it as soon as my attention went there, it shifted. And I was that interested me. And I also have a question is I tried both sides.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, good idea. Yeah.
I have a wrist injury on one of my hands.
Okay.
A broken wrist, and there's a plate in there that my body does not like, but that they have to remove now. Does that affect the energetic dynamic? I've heard people say yes, and I've heard people say maybe. And so I'd love your opinion. And I don't know if that at some appropriate time, if now's not the time.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I'm happy to answer that. How long ago was the injury, and is it considered fully healed?
The accident, and there was a lot of trauma with it. I don't want to trigger anyone, but it was the DUI hit and run, and shattered my wrist. I was in January, the end of January, and then the surgery was delayed, and so it was later in or the end of February, and then I had the plate is just not my body doesn't like the metal plate they put in, so they have to remove it. So yeah,
it's possible. Yeah. Just also with the nature of broken bones too, definitely something that can be healed, obviously, but when that's occurred in the body, it can interrupt the flow of life force to a certain degree. As far as the metal plate goes, I can't speak to that without working with you directly and kind of getting in there and seeing for myself. So I'm not sure how the metal plate would be affecting how the energy is flowing through the wrist and hand and arm. But in my experience, with broken bones, at least until the body's fully healed, the energy can be kind of interrupted, but it's still flowing. It might just be a little bit less than your other wrist. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, love.
Thanks, love. Thank you for sharing your experience. Antonella?
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Antonella.
So, wow, that was such a like heart-opening experience, and it was a very familiar, comforting feeling that I haven't like gotten in touch with my energy in a long time, and I could feel my whole body kind of like being embraced in that space, you know, of feeling that warmth and the tingle, but also just like a reconnection to that. So thank you. And then here's my husband, Paco.
Hi, Paco.
So
Hi.
I actually attempted it as well, and I'm an aura reader. I'm very spiritually connected.
Wonderful. Yeah.
It was actually very interesting to be able to feel the aura around me be so almost as if it was being tuned in through my hands and condensed.
Right. Yeah.
So there was a lot of pressure. The closer I put my hands together,
The more you were feeling it.
Yes. Like it's actually stopping my hands, or wanting to feel like it was stopping my hands from coming together.
Yeah.
So that was a very amazing new experience.
Yeah.
For me.
Oh, that's a great observation. And, you know, you can use this not just on your own hands, but I mean, I think I see some plants behind you. You know, you can start feeling the energy of plants if you want, the flowers, different objects, you know, everything has a different quality of energy. So the more you practice, the more your hands get sensitive to different types of energy. And also, actually, Antonella, you were just reminding me of something. One thing I meant to share when we were doing this, you mentioned heart opening. That is, it's such an important part of feeling energy. And one of the things we can do to help open our heart further, if we want to get, you know, feel energy and get our hands sensitive, is actually just to take our non-dominant hand and just lightly put our fingertips on our heart chakra in the center of our chest. So when we do that and we start feeling energy, it really helps increase sensitivity through the hands. Sorry, Antonella, did you say something?
No, I'm just feeling that. I was like just emoting.
Okay.
I gotta mute myself.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Thank you so much.
People are really charging up out there. Wonderful. Kat?
Hi.
Hi, Kat.
I didn't, that was fun.
Nice.
I didn't open my eyes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So hearing people talk about seeing things. I've been dealing with intense migraines. I'm waiting on seeing a neurologist. So I have a lot of snowy vision and flashes. And often I've had vision issues since birth and have had a lot of surgeries. But I've gotten frustrated with my vision issues.
Okay.
And then I'll hear my aunt that raised me, and she passed in 2010. And I'll hear, and she was with me through a lot of surgeries, even as a toddler. And I couldn't be put under. She just hold me and sing to me. I'm Indigenous, and we singing and storytelling, and our culture is all about song and beat and drums. And she'd sing, and they'd take my eye and lay it on my eyeball and deal with the muscles and stuff. I was trying to up on the step stool, trying to get in the microwave, get the rim just right on the glass turntable, and I can't see my vision, and trying to get it. And I could hear her say, "Catherine, you know how to do this. Just close your eyes and feel your way through it."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I was ready to just throw the whole microwave off the top of the fridge onto the floor and smash the fucking thing. So excuse me.
That's okay. That's okay. All good.
I'd already been probably 7 minutes frustrated and swearing. I've got and getting ready to go for the first set of nerve conduction testings to have my hand and arm operated on for the plastic surgeon from a pit bull attack. So I have that on my dominant hand. And she said, "You've been through this before, you know what to do." And I immediately knew what she meant. And I just closed my eyes, and with less than a minute, I felt my way through it and had it done.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So in that exercise, I'm not really familiar with chakra type things. I have learned about in CPTSD therapy about EMDR.
Right. Yeah.
And have been doing a lot of that.
Yeah. The tapping.
And in the exercise with my eyes closed,
Mhm.
my choice was to point with my injured dominant hand.
Yeah.
But I actually was feeling some warmth and healing in my injured hand from the energy doing this. And I really like to run my hands under hot water, especially for the injured hand.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
this was a
Yeah.
nice surprise of feeling the energy from the doing that. It was
Mhm.
good for the injured hand.
You know, you're so spot on about that, because when the cells start to receive energy, life force, and they start to go through deep healing, often we feel heat in that area. And the heat is dirty energy releasing on a cellular level, and it produces a feeling of just increased heat or hotness as the cells are healing. So as you're increasing your life force through having the tongue connected, body off the, back of the chair, and just kind of tuning in that way, your hand is receiving healing. So that's, yeah.
That was amazing because it was
That
there
is-
even touching.
Yeah. I saw you dancing actually. I saw you go, your screen.
I was totally all into it and not even and I didn't even think to open my eyes. I was so into it. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Kat. Thank you.
Wendy, you're up next. Oh, did we lose Wendy?
Did we lose Wendy?
I think I unmuted when you unmuted and they collided.
Oh, okay. Wendy, you're up.
I remain not stuck, but happily aware of what you shared about the energy that gets released when things land as storytellers, because I'm a retired college professor. And I was sharing with my mom, I put myself on mute and took myself off camera because I didn't expect any of this to be part of my day today. I'm supposed to be dealing with banking today.
Okay.
Or in
Glad you
theory,
included
right?
us. Yeah.
Instead, I was like finally able to access my email address, and then that led me to what is being offered through Leah today.
Wonderful.
And so when you shared that, not only as a professor, as a speaker, like I'm reading the room, and oftentimes I'll find myself using words that I wouldn't naturally use, but that they're landing in a particular way. And then afterwards, somebody will say like, they wrote down something on a piece of paper and they said like, I'm going to keep this, but I hadn't, in all of the training, nowhere as a professor do they train you on what happens when there's a shift that takes place in a room full of people.
Yeah.
And how to care for yourself.
Yeah.
And there's so many things they don't prepare you for. Like they have all this ergonomics to help you make sure that you're sitting at your desk right, but there's nothing to deal with the fact that you're standing for 6 hours at a time in concrete. Or doing weird flamingo-like antics with your legs behind a podium, only to have a chiropractor later tell you like you're literally adjusting the weight of your whole body, and I'm 6 feet tall, in a way that's not supporting your body for 6 hours at a time.
Right.
So the energetics, of course, is they're nowhere near, like if they can't figure out the physicality of it and the kinesiology of it, they're not going to figure out the energetics of it.
Right.
And so when you shared, like when a story lands, what gets discharged and how, if unaware, through no fault of our own, we take that home and pack that up in our teacher bag.
Yeah.
We're screwed. And then we're collectively screwed when that happens during anything major, which is pretty much my entire 15 years of teaching, even before the pandemic, based on the nature of students that I had the pleasure of serving and the privilege of serving. What comes readily to mind is the day I taught the day after Kobe Bryant was killed in a helicopter accident, and I teach in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And so I knew that the curriculum that day had to be thrown aside. And we needed to tend to hearts instead. And I thought I had a handle on how to do that for myself. But the last, 45 minutes with you has really illuminated some areas where there's some greater tending I can do for myself and share in conversation with others. And certainly this will be one of the links that I'm excited to share far and wide with folks who are in similar roles. and all of the helpers that are helping, and not realizing that, some of that joint stuff, some of that, like, it might be masked. It might not even be theirs. And so even though I know, like, I have my little exercise where I do mine, not mine, mine, not mine. Just to kind of just like get me back into me and get their stuff with them. Or in my head, I'll say, like, let them keep their crazy, even though, like, I don't use that term lightly, but sometimes like people are not inhibiting it, and they're embodying crazy in a way, like they're literally out of their mind.
No,
and so I'm grateful that the AOL gods, for my crappy tried and true AOL account, finally let me in so that I could get out of the dual authentication circus that I was in, and to be here. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for what you do, Wendy, because I do work with a lot of teachers who teach all different levels. And again, I know energetically teachers go through a lot, and it's definitely important to be taking care of the energetics, because we need you. We need the wonderful teachers in the world. Well,
and if you can find your way to teaching the deans and department chairs and provosts, then maybe they can not be putting us in the middle of needing to be first responders to students in ways that policy works completely against us doing so.
Right. Yeah, right. Makes sense. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Wendy. And thank you. So, and what Wendy shared there is really great for leading us into our next topic here, which is cutting our negative cords. So sometimes I work with people and they're just like, I don't want any more negative cords. I don't want people cording into me. I don't want to have these attachments, and unfortunately, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here, but as long as we're in these physical bodies, we have negative cords with other humans to a certain degree. And it's okay if we have a couple. Where it becomes problematic is when we have too many, and if the cords are strong. So as I mentioned earlier, how negative cords form is when we interact with other humans, whether it's professionally, personally, really on any level. I want to give you a quick example here, because I did mention, some negative cords do connect quite quickly. So say, for example, if I was to cut someone off on the freeway, I would never cut someone off on the freeway, just to be clear, but let's just pretend that I've cut someone off on the freeway. So Erin's cut them off. The person that I've cut off, it's possible they're going to get angry, maybe experience some heated emotions, right? Frustration, rage, irritability, all these things. Temporarily, at that moment, there's a very high chance that that person is going to form a negative cord to me. And energetically, I don't know if you can see here, it would be like cords go into all different parts of the body, but just for the sake of example, it would be like an energetic cord maybe going into one chakra, connecting me to the other person. Now, as this person's day goes on, they might forget they're probably going to forget that I cut them off earlier that day. And as their mind disconnects from the event, so will the cord as well. Okay, so that's an example of a negative cord. It happened, but it disconnected with time. Now, other negative cords can be stronger, especially if we are in the roles of teachers, healers, therapists, storytellers. And no one intentionally is ever wanting to form negative cords to another person. Sometimes I work with people and they get upset over the fact that so-and-so corded into them. No one's walking around thinking, I'm going to form a negative cord into X, Y, and Z person. This is not a thing, It's just a product of our human mind and what we go through and what we experience. So as storytellers, when you're in front of an audience or working on one-with person, there's an energetic cord that is established when you're sharing that time and space together. And, especially if your story is transformative for them, if it's very healing for them, perhaps it could be even triggering for them, they're going to form cords to you during that time and maybe afterwards as well. And especially if they've gone through something profound, even after your time together has passed, whether it's a few hours later, even a few days later, as their mind thinks about their story and you, an energetic cord will form. So the energetic cords are formed through our thought. Now, why I call them negative cords is because when we have a cord going into us, it is a leak in our energy. Our energy is draining out. Now we can handle this to a certain degree. That's why I say it's okay for us to have a few. We generally do at any given moment. But when we have too many, which is often the case with teachers and therapists, law enforcers, healers, when we have too many of them, that's when we start to develop pain in the body. We can start to have a really busy mind. I don't know if any of you at night, when you lay down and the mind's just going and going and going, sometimes it's because we have too many negative cords. We got too many people plugged into us. It can also lead to fatigue, physical and mental fatigue, because simply we're like a battery for too many people, right? We're dragging around too many people with us. So far I've shared that, negative cords going into us, but we have to recognize that we also send out negative cords too, right? It's a two-way street. So I want us to practice cutting our negative cords here. I will answer some questions afterwards. So we're just going to take our hands. There's a lot of different ways to cut negative cords, and I am going to go into this on a deeper level, teaching a class in January. It's a 4-week class, so we are going to talk about different ways to cut cords, but I wanted to give you guys something super basic, really simple, and really effective. This is something I do every single day. Okay, so we're going to take our hands. Work with your dominant hand. So we're going to take our dominant hand and we're going to put it up at the top of our head. Now, energy follows thought, but technique is also important. So when working with energy, we want to have a clear intent. So we're going to form the intent. I'm cutting all negative cords going in or out of my body. So our hands up the top of our heads. Just watch me for a moment. I'm going to bring my hand in a chopping motion down the center column of my body. Cut, 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 cut. And if you want, you can say the words cut, cut, cut as you're bringing your hands down. Now, if you're cutting your cords and you feel that there's like a heaviness in a particular area, could be anywhere, but if you feel a heaviness, it's indication that there is a bulk of cords there and you want to spend a few extra moments just really cutting the cords in that area. Now, even if you don't feel anything, this is effective. Your cords are being cut. So we do this a couple times down the center of our body, cutting all negative cords, going in and out of the body. And then we also want to cut our liver. So the cords going into our liver. Our liver is on the right side of the body. So I think it'll be flipped for you. So we're going to take our hand, cut all negative cords going in and out of the liver. And then we're going to move to our left side where our spleen is. Now, the spleen is a really important organ. It has 2 minor chakras on it, and it's often the most affected organ with healers, which also includes storytellers and teachers and therapists. People plug into our spleen when they're going through something, when maybe they don't have the tools or the ability in that moment to meet their needs in a healthy way. They plug into the spleen chakra. So same thing, form the intent. I'm cutting all negative cords going in and out of my spleen, and just do a chopping motion over your left lower rib cage where the spleen is. Now, I really highlight the spleen because a lot of people that are tired, whether it's physically or mentally, there's a lot going on in the spleen. So for those of you who work with classrooms and audiences, it's an extremely important area. It'll really help bring up your energy levels over time. Now, we need to cut cords in our back too, which, physically is not quite possible. So again, we just want to have a clear intent. So I'm going to cut all negative cords going in and out of my back. So same thing, the technique is exactly the same. I'm just going to cut all negative cords going in and out of my back. Even though my hand's coming down in front of me, the intent that it's in my back. Cut, 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 cut. Now, too many cords going into the neck and head area can cause migraines, a lot of tension in the eyes, can cause our shoulders to be up by our ears. So if you're suffering from anything like that, you might want to focus a little more on the head area. Of course, there's other factors involved, but this is something that can assist and support you in your healing. Now, we also want to cut cords going into our back liver. So same thing, form the intent. I'm cutting all negative cords going in and out of the back of my liver. Cords in the liver are often related to anger. So it's always a good one to cut for the health of the organ, but also for your own emotional health too. Now, same thing, we're going to do the spleen on the left side. I'm going to cut all negative cords going in and out of my back spleen. Cut, 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 cut. And that's it. That's cord cutting. So as I mentioned, we are doing a course in January, and I will be sharing like why the cords go into the places they do, and also some deeper techniques on helping to redirect those cords to a different source of energy. So, but for today, this is a really good thing to do. I just do this simple technique every day, and it's great. So for those of you that teach, definitely do this after you do your classes. For those of you that are storytellers, do this after you've shared your story. If you have the kind of mind that tends to think about things a lot, like perhaps you've taught a class or you've shared a story, and later on that evening, the mind is, thinking things over and kind of hooking back in. Again, you want to cut your cords, because as I mentioned earlier, even through thought, we reconnect back to people and energy starts to transfer. If that's not enough, if you've cut your cords and the mind is still hooking back in, then distract yourself. Go watch a fun TV show, movie, read a book, do whatever you need to do to get your mind off of it so you can move on. Now, I know we got a couple minutes. I want to cover one more thing, and then I want to open it to Q&A real quick. So the next thing I want to share with you involves working with salt and water. Now, salt energetically has a really beautiful green energy in it that is extremely good for purifying us, for cleansing us. Now, a lot of healers have a hard time in this line of work. It can be hard for them to continue on through the years because the energy body tends to get contaminated. One thing that I think storytellers probably go through as well is that perhaps after you've shared a story, people start to share with you how it affected them, things about their own healing, things that came up for them, maybe things that were triggered. So as time passes, especially if you continue to do this over the years, things can build up. Things can build up in the energy body. As you're, it's such a gift to share that sacred space of hearing what people go through. But at the same time, as they're sharing it, it can start to energetically build up in a part of the energy body that oversees your mind. And eventually the contamination energy can get so dense and so heavy that it can cause brain fog. It can be hard to focus. It can be hard to think straight. And then when it starts to hit more of the physical body, it can be hard to wake up in the mornings and just really feel like you want to go back into your day or return to work. So one of the things we can do to help keep ourselves clean is to take a bath in salt. So if you don't have a bathtub, you can definitely do this with a salt scrub as well in the shower. I'll get into that in a moment. But if you can, at least a couple times a week, or after you've shared a story, or after you taught a class, at the end of the day, have a bath in salt. And if you want, I'll drop my email address in the chat box at the end of class. I can send you a PDF on different types of baths that you can do that are extremely healing. So the first one I'm going to mention is just bathing in salt. So the salt I'm referring to here is table salt, sea salt, Himalayan salt, Dead Sea salt. You can use any kind of salt from just basic to fancy. Whatever you connect with is great. All those salts are extremely cleansing. What you want to avoid is Epsom salt. Epsom salt has a completely different energy in it. It has a red energy, and it's extremely good for your muscles and your digestive system, but it doesn't have purifying qualities. So for this purpose, we want to avoid the Epsom salts. Okay, so going back to the normal salt. So what we do is I only do 2 very generous handfuls of salt into the water, but I do know some healers that actually put up to 2 cups of salt. So if you're feeling really heavy, off, or tired, and like you need a cleansing, then you might want to experiment with doing the 2 cups of salt and see how you feel. Now in the bathtub, you want to soak up to your jawline. And if you're comfortable getting your head wet, then that's great, because a lot of negative energy can gather around our head. So, but if you don't want to get your hair wet, salt can also be hard on the hair. That's fine. Just soak up to the jaw. That way your chakras, your energy body, your energy channels can start to get clean. And what the salt does is it gently but thoroughly starts to break down dirty energy that is affecting us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, etc. Now, it's not going to be a complete cleaning. Our energy body is extremely complex. It has a lot of layers to it. It's very multi-dimensional, but it'll be really good for helping to clean up, our own negative thoughts, our own stress that we go through the day, our own emotions, It helps to clean up negative energy related to ailments that we're trying to heal from. It helps to clean up negative energy from different environments we've been in that day and from other people that we've been around. So for those of you that are also empathic, this can be a really good tool in the tool bag. So if you're having a salt shower, it's easy. You can just put some salt in your favorite shower gel, call it good. You can also get a salt scrub if you want. The one thing I would advise is that if you're having a salt shower, you want to lather up and hang out for a few minutes because the salt needs to do its thing. With a salt bath, we want to soak for 20 minutes, no longer than 20 minutes. That's enough time to get a thorough cleansing. After that, you want to rinse off and do what you want to do. Salt shower, just hang out for a few minutes, let the salt do its thing, and then rinse off. So this is a really simple thing, but I cannot tell you, like, it has been a game changer for me over the years, and as it has helped me come back to my work year after year, day after day. Another really good bath is a salt and coffee bath. So same thing, you can do 2 generous handfuls of salt or even up to 2 cups. For the coffee, speaking from previous experience, do not, for the love of God, throw coffee grounds straight into the bathtub. I have done that not once, but twice. And I have to say, you'll be left with such a nightmare of a mess to clean up. So learn from my mistakes. What you want to do is you want to throw coffee into the bath that's contained within a sachet, like similar to like a tea sachet, but they're quite big. That way the coffee is contained. You throw maybe 2 sachets in and it'll diffuse into the water. I've had clients who have dumped brewed coffee into the bathtub. I have not done this myself, and I don't know if it's as effective, but you can experiment and see how you feel. Now, the purpose of the coffee salt bath is really, really good if we're going through extreme things. If we're maybe suffering from depression, if we're on the road of recovery from different addictions, if we're dealing with intense anger, rage, tendencies to be violent, intense stress, any of these really intense things that we experience as humans, the coffee salt bath is perfect for. It is an extremely powerful bath though, so you don't want to do it every day. Coffee has an orange energy in it, which is extremely purifying, but when orange hits our energy body, it's like explosive. So same thing, you only soak for 20 minutes, rinse off and get out, but please be careful when you get out of the tub. You're releasing such an intense amount of dirty energy within 20 minutes that sometimes people feel a little bit dizzy when they get out. So just be careful about that. Take a moment and see how you feel. Okay, so I believe that's all we have time for today. I'm definitely going to be talking a lot more in January about jewelry, things you can wear on your person to help you with protection, to help support you in public speaking, to help you as a storyteller. We'll be talking also about the energetics of a room. We're going to be going into energetic hygiene a lot more. It's a big topic. There's a lot to be said, but these 2 things, the salt baths and the cord cutting, are wonderful. Keep in mind, if you do connect with this information, it's not a one-time thing. It's a lifestyle, and it's something that needs to be, incorporated on a weekly or, several times a week basis to help maintain your energy levels. Leah, do we have some time for some questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So yeah, I'm open to taking general questions. And like I said, if we can open the chat up as well, I'll drop my email in. So any of you can email me. I'll send you some PDFs and some of the stuff we talked about today.
I'll just say, Kelsey manages our behind the scene world, and she had to jump into another class.
Okay, sure.
The chat, but what we will do is we'll be sure and send all that information with the replay of this email. Okay. And then also just putting a link to that class that Erin is teaching so that you can see that right now. It's coming up in January. I know it seems a long time from now, but I'll talk a little bit more about all that stuff afterwards, but sure. Right now.
Okay. Okay, so we'll take some questions here. Maybe Tracy Lee.
Sorry, my reaction thing was I didn't figure the chat was going to work, so I was just. But thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so no question at all?
Not that's gonna no. It would take a while.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Feel free to reach out to me if you like.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So I think Leah, Leah, are you able to unmute? Yeah.
Oh, hi, me. Did you call me?
Yeah. Yeah,
Hi.
we were just trying to unmute you there. Yeah.
So I had a very clear question. It got a little muddled, and it's something that you may be addressing in the class that you're offering. So if that's the case, I can always contact you and just discuss it. I'll try to make it very, very brief. So the concept is, let's say you are, as a storyteller, as a performer of some sort, or even just a board meeting. I mean, really any situation, and you're speaking, right?
Yeah.
With the intention of having your words be, touch other people's hearts, ignite something in them. You know, think of like the Uranus Venus energy, right?
Yeah.
So, question part A, are chords detrimental for a speaker, or are they kind of the natural part of storytelling, and or presenting or performing in the dynamic between speaker and audience? So it's like a collaboration. Do collaborations such as this naturally have chords connect? And then the second part of that is it possible to either utilize the chord connection or some other way to really have the energy that our words carry, present that Uranus Venus energetic dynamic, that kind of opening of the heart? So to what degree are chords detrimental, and to what degrees can they be utilized while attached for transformative dynamic between the audience and the speaker? That was my thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So chords are they're a natural part of the interaction. So they occur whether we like it or not. The negative chords, they're harmful in the sense is if when they're too strong and there's too many of them. So I talked about how chords attach through our mind, right? But they start to become strong when our emotions are involved. So when people are experiencing anger or sadness, or things are coming up for them, that emotion is what really causes the chords to get quite big. When the chords get big, there's a greater transference of energy happening. So those are just negative chords. What I didn't have time to talk about today is actually positive chords. Those ones exist as well. So with your audience, there is going to be positive, healthy chords as well. Chords that support healing, chords that are rooted in friendship and kindness and all those wonderful things we can experience as humans. Now, the positive chords are not something that we can actually cut. They're healthy for us, with the healing modality I do, we're all about experimenting and drawing our own conclusions on things. And so some of us have experimented with cutting positive chords in the past just to see what would happen, not that we're trying to disconnect from our family and partners or anything, but just for observation's sake. And what we noticed is that even when you cut your positive chords, if you try to, it's impossible because they reconnect within just a matter of seconds. So it's the negative chords specifically that we want to be on top of cutting, because it's a wonderful to be in a position to help people and to serve people, but it cannot come at the expense of our own health. It cannot come at the expense of our own well-being. And so by cutting those negative chords, you're going to continue to be able to go out in the world and serve in whatever way that you serve. And that's really, really important, because I've seen too many people burn out over the years because they're not on top of the energetic hygiene. And that's a real loss. So I don't know if I answered your question correctly, Lev, but I hope that helps some. Does that help?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for today's session. I had a question. I have some magnesium salts, and you mentioned earlier that said coffee was orange energy, which makes sense. Epsom salt's red, that makes total sense. But I was curious about, before I experiment with magnesium, what you thought that energy color might relate to, or what that might relate. Yeah.
Yes. So it's a red energy, which is really good for like the muscular system and also our gastrointestinal system. Red is good. Certain colors of red really help us relax. And in relaxing, then healing occurs, but it doesn't purify us. It doesn't cleanse out that negative energy. It has a different healing purpose.
Yeah.
Also, I just thought of something when you brought up the coffee. Sometimes people ask me if drinking coffee has the same effect as a coffee salt bath. Unfortunately, it doesn't. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it doesn't. I wish a good cup of coffee just like flushed all the crap out, but you know.
So when you talk about the colors, are they colors that you associate with the chakra colors as we commonly see them depicted? Or is that something?
Yeah, it's complex. It's complex because each chakra, I know we tend to see them as red and orange, yellow, green, and blue, but each chakra actually has a multitude of different colors we can access from the chakra. So yeah, it's kind of a complex topic, but yes, you are right, because when it comes to healing, you know, a lot of different modalities use color healing in all sorts of different ways, and there's a lot of different sources for color. But with the healing modality that I work with, we do draw specific hues of color from specific chakras. So
does that make salt, the basic salt, like a white, which I guess is a reflection of all colors, right?
Yeah, white does have all colors in it, but actually the salt is more of a really beautiful emerald green color.
Okay, yes, you mentioned.
Yeah, and green is just, it's such a powerful cleanser, but it's just gentle. Like it thoroughly cleanses us and breaks things down, but it's a gentle. And the one thing I want to mention about that too is as we're having this negative energy, these blockages purified from our chakras and our energy body, our chakras naturally start to draw in life force from our environment after that. And as that happens, it then sends it to our organs and systems and, you know, parts of our mind that it keeps healthy. So that's just an automatic thing. You help take something out, and then the energy body draws what it needs in.
Yeah. So then when we're done cleansing and I take time later to do really mindfully the cord cutting, right?
Yeah.
I guess then be in a calm space for a period of time to maybe let that settle, right? So don't go straight back out to do something.
You can see how you feel. I mean, if you're having a salt bath, you might feel really good afterwards and just ready to carry on with your day. If you're having a coffee salt bath, you might feel like I need a nap, I need some downtime to rest because it's very intense. So it just depends on you. See how you feel and take it from there.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. Thank you.
Thank you all. I just want to say, just like, wow, what an amazing conversation, Erin. And it's one that I just feel like we don't talk enough about in this space, about what storytellers are exposed to when we do this work. And I often, you know, come to that a lot of people are kind of inherently, we hear a lot about like, we hear that people are inherently afraid to get up in front of an audience and speak.
Yeah.
I think that there's actually an inherent intelligence that's there, where if you don't have these protective measures, if you don't understand what's happening in our unseen realm, but you can feel it, then I don't want to say you should be scared, because no, don't be scared, but you should be informed, you know, because it makes all the difference. And it's a difference between being able to do it through a lifetime or not, you know, and I feel like we've seen so many of our celebrities get so ill from so many different things. And if we don't, part of it is because the amount of energetic projections coming out them without the education for how to manage that much energy, it's part of the whole story. So I just want to say thank you so much, Erin. I really appreciate you being here and teaching us practical skills for storytellers, but also practical skills for being humans in the world. Willing to stay a little bit longer. We're going to end the session officially now. What I'll say is Erin is teaching a class in January, and it's going to be a really wonderful class. I feel like it should be kind of like Bake's foundational, you know, 101 to becoming a storyteller. I wish it had been. And I'll just share this little short story, which is that when I first started doing story ceremonies, I took on one of the more powerful stories of our time, which was the story of the witch. I didn't know. The story came to me. It said, come be with me, work with me. We did this big story ceremony to work with this. And I inherently knew that there was going to be a lot of energy in the room. So I actually asked one of my dear friends who was a professional energy management, quantum person. Again, like intuitive. And I want to just anchor that in, that so oftentimes when we're in this deep creation space of listening, our intuition comes on board. Even if we don't mentally understand, there's a knowing that lives inside of us. I intuitively thought, bring in this an energy person to manage the energy. I didn't realize how much work she was doing, because when we did an event at another place, I walked out, like the next morning, I literally felt like a truck had hit me. Now I did theater my entire life, right? You know, so I know it's not like getting up in front of people is anything big, but that particular story had so much energy. And the next morning I was like, what's going on? And I got up, took a shower, and I began to consciously clear that energy, and all of a sudden I could breathe again. So that's, to me, what anchored in this. This is an apparent part of our curriculum, that we need to be educating people who are being bold and going out in front. So.
Absolutely. And just to wrap up here too, I'm going to stay on and answer some questions further for all of you. But I also just want to say too, you know, I do want to talk more in January about helping people get up in front of, to publicly speak and share their stories, and to recognize too that when you do that, there's so much energy coming through you in those moments to help support you and support your role as a storyteller. You're never alone in what you do. So I definitely want to speak more to that and the energetics of that in January as well. But thank you so much to Leah and Kelsey and Anisha. These ladies have been working their butts off 24 hours a day for I don't know how long to make magic happen and bring this very sacred summit to all of us. And I'm so grateful, Leah, because it's been really beautiful to be a part of. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Excuse me, Leah. When I was registering, expressive embodiment tools just was not, when I tapped on the highlighted 1 p.m. Is it canceled, or was it just full?
No, it's right there.
Everything else was accepting and when I tried to tap on expressive embodiment tools, it's not working, and it's still not working.
I just put the link in the Zoom box, so see if that works. And we're seeing a lot of people register for it, so I know that the link is working somewhere out there, but we can give it to you again. Sometimes I can't. I do not own the technology realms.
The other ones worked, and I tried again just a while ago, and it's still just sort of inactive or something in my.
So I'm just telling. I want us to end this really well, and then I'll deal with all the technology stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So what I will say is that I did just put the links for all of the rest of our classes today into our chat, so you can see those. And I know that we're seeing everything happen. We're seeing a lot of people registering. We're hearing that things are happening too. So you can always email us at info@leahlam, and we will get you all set up and all there. And then I'll just say also, if this is a kind of class that you're really into, our curriculum starts in September, and we also have other teachers that are also teaching energy work. So you don't have to wait all the way till January.
A few months away.
I actually recommend taking classes from different teachers, because it really gives you a very full treasure chest of skills and techniques. And
absolutely.
Learning. And I can't wait for your class, Erin. So put that in there. I know that you get there's specials and things when you register this week for the classes, and you'll see all that in the emails. And we're going to turn off recording now. We're going to be back in 45 minutes for our next class, which is expressive embodiment with Heather Christie. She is a spitfire of a woman, and she's a vocalist, and she's going to really help you get into your body. This is the thing. So many things strangely get ignored. I don't know how, but it does. You know, we can get so stuck in our heads. What's the story that we're going to tell? Well, no, it comes from here, you know, and we talked about this beautiful transmission that Erin was talking about comes from there. So I'm going to stop recording now, and people who want to stay on can definitely stay on and continue to talk to Erin. Okay.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you.